Welcome, friends. I am Kerry Richards. I currently am providing ministry in all its facets to the Hamilton and Niagara congregations. I've been offering New Expressions practices in Sunday gatherings, midweek conversation groups, community meals, integration with other faith groups, and pastoral care to a primarily non-internet, non-email, non-cell phone church community where ministry has been entirely in person. You have joined this presentation about my role in this ministry called New Expressions. New Expressions emerged in a conversation I had with Scott Murphy of the First Presidency about 11 years ago. I was researching an ecumenical movement in the UK called Fresh Expressions, and Scott said Community of Christ was thinking of using the term New Expressions. And so it was. The premise of these expressions is to nurture our own spirituality and to reach out to those who self-identify as more spiritual than religious, and some who are church refugees. Let me share the results of an Associated Press poll from 2019 that also correlates with a similar one in the National Post in Canada. 82% of people believe in an afterlife. 80% believe in angels. 77% felt the presence of a guardian angel in their life. 46% believe they have a guardian angel. 68% felt the presence of a person who had passed on. And 74% described themselves as more spiritual than religious. And so we see that we and those around us in our daily lives acknowledge that we are spiritual beings. As we begin, let me affirm that the life of Jesus is absolutely a guide and pattern for living. His story, teachings, and inner contemplative presence to God, and his outer compassionate action towards all is the foundation for New Expressions in Community of Christ. With that intro, may we enter into our session tonight with a momentary spiritual practice, so we can each sense the presence of the Spirit within. And I want to affirm you that this is the foundation of New Expressions practices. And so, if you will, I invite you to pause and close your eyes. Breathe in mindfully. Breathe in the Spirit. Breathe in the Spirit. I invite you to watch and sense this present humble moment from the vantage point of your eternal inward soul experiencing the Spirit. Watch, sense the present humble moment from the vantage point of your eternal inward soul. Let us open our eyes, refreshed, renewed, to our mutually sacred time together. New Expressions has been my journey and my quest to both understand and experience the reality and knowing that is born out of entering into spiritual practices. They can be momentary, as we just experienced, or whatever time frame calls to you. New Expressions focuses upon the diverse contemplative forms and resulting experiences of spiritual encounter. The word new. Sometimes you discover that new is not just a reshuffling, nor is it a reshaping or a simple modification. It really, truly is completely new. Indeed, what was is transformed, unrecognizable, and is metamorphic in nature. And that is the guiding word introduced to our church by President Vesey. Metamorphosis. Ultimately, the caterpillar forming the cocoon is a gift that makes possible the next stage of living. The transformed, illustrious butterfly emerges out of that cocoon beyond our recognition. But the transformation is not us observing the butterfly. It is the profound experience of new that is lived out by the butterfly. Metamorphosis gives new eyes to see, new ears to hear, new wings to fly, and new experiences to enlighten. Indeed, it is creation at its finest. Monthly, I attend workshops with Dave and Carolyn Brock called Thirsting for God, based upon the Beatitude in Matthew. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst. The hunger and thirst for God is spiritual seeking at the very core of our being. At their recent workshop, Don Compier, our past Community of Christ Seminary Dean, presented that the current era of Christendom is nearly over. Christianity in its current form is in crisis everywhere. Doctrinal, theological, authoritative institutionalism, and cultural reasons for being a Christian are decreasing in relevance. But, he said, historically, this has happened many times before. We're aware of the Reformation, the Enlightenment, and even our own Restoration. And each time the movement of mysticism or seekers searching for authentic spiritual experience, those searching for God, has been the hope for Christian rediscovery with transformed new expressions. Indeed, Don said, mysticism is our timely gift of metamorphosis needed now. Science, too, is about metamorphosis. There is seeking. Scientists explore new theories without fully knowing the outcomes. It all begins with inspired futuristic thinkers and writers like Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and Isaac Asimov, all who envision the unthinkable. They are catalysts for scientists to engage in experimental trials. Their envisioning enlarges our scope of seeing beyond the known, to explore new frontiers, and new aha moments unfold. In the same way, yearning for mystical, spiritual seeking unfolds. I encourage us when we hear words like spiritual awakening, awakening spirituality, not to be negative towards the new in spiritual encounters. Spiritual seeking has been part of our mystical restoration experience from our very beginnings. It is the unthinkable, the inspirational, the trials of discerning the depths of new in our spirituality, and the entering into new realms of experiential enlightenment through the Spirit. Indeed, Doctrine and Covenants says, let the Spirit breathe. Our restoration scriptures in sections 85 and 90 exclaim, the elements are eternal, and spirit and element are inseparably connected. The minute particles of creation's very elements are enveloped within the Spirit. And it continues, the Spirit as light and energy fills the immensity of space and illumines our minds. There is no space where the Spirit is separate from any part of creation. And our body, our mind, and souls are immersed in spirit. New expressions practices nurture our awareness to this overlooked reality of our inseparable spiritual intimacy with God. That is our purpose, not to find a role in life, but to find our soul relationship with our Creator. Let's use an illustration to enlarge this view of the mystical new expressions of spiritual experience. So all of us are familiar with maps, and more so today with GPS systems. How wonderful to imagine our envisioned travels and our destination using these tools. We can study the description of our intended travel place. It includes the road names, the intersections, bridges, gas stations, countless sightseeing stops, rest areas, tolls, traffic times, primary and alternate routes, and our approximate time of arrival. We can even view Google Earth pictures along our route. Overall, there is amazing detail, but the intimate sensory experience of actually being there is not our reality yet. It still is only a description. This can be likened to the scriptures and the forms and structures in place within our faith communities. The description of the journey before us is vivid, detailed, and is discussed with our truly kindred companions in sacred community. There are traditional spiritual glimpses that inspire and bless us with the Spirit. Yet we see through a glass darkly, as Scripture says, not encountering the fullness of understanding. The mystery of knowing and experiencing a fuller encounter is beyond the description of the scriptural GPS roadmap. The ultimate experience of our journey still has a rich sensory fullness beyond this. That is found in the present moments of actually encountering the Spirit with all of our senses fully renewed and enlivened in the experience described. New expressions is this unfolding realm of awakening, where sacred descriptions become a mystical experience of and with the Spirit. This year at our second Ziontario reunion, called Healing and Freeing, my class topic for the week was the theology of awakening. Spiritual awakening is this fuller, mystical, spiritual encounter. At reunion, we entered into a very familiar spiritual practice within Community of Christ. We call Lectio Divina. It is one of the many, many divinas, or divine spiritual practices we can partake of. We all have already experienced the profound inspiration and living touch of the Spirit in this practice. Divina is a word that is a verb, not a noun. It's not a description, but an experience. In its active encounter, we enter into that experience of the Spirit. The Spirit can illumine us like the Moses burning bush moment. In the Lectio Divina practice, we mindfully contemplate a passage of Scripture multiple times, allowing the profound meaning of the words to reveal divine truths, both in the original context and within our own life circumstances, for understanding and felt spiritual connection with the Holy. There are many Divina practices, indeed unlimited. Another is Visio Divina. As we gaze upon sacred images, we immerse ourselves within an awe-inspiring visual of photography or natural scenery, creative art, or maybe skyscapes of a starry night, inviting the Spirit to bless us with insight into our lives. And then there is Musica Divina, where harmonies of musical expressions or vocal splendor touch our lives and our souls. In Gratuitas Divina, gratefulness floods our souls with expressions of grace received. In Compassionate Divina, our hearts are broken with God in and for the suffering of others. In Reconciling Divina, forgiveness and reciprocal healing opens our relationships to unconditional love with others. In cultural divina, accepting and affirming inclusivity empowers the worth of all. In a land acknowledgement divina, we honor the legacy of spirit present in First Peoples' experiences of creation's sacredness through a new ancient lens. Life is a divina if we are mindful. Each divina has its profound attuning spheres of experiential spiritual touch that awaken us to spirit and element inseparably connected, to the spirit that fills the immensity of space and illumines our minds. These divinas are just samplings of unending entry points as new expressions, experience of the spirit awakens our lives. A new expressions emerging congregation in our mission center is called Awakening Spirituality. I'm the co-pastor of this congregation. It is a community of expectant seekers whose minds are open to the new. Our awareness is nurtured through mentoring practices of guided contemplation and discernment that invites heartfelt and mindful spirit illumination. Inspiring practices and modalities provide focused centering as entry points to mystical spiritual encounter. Attuned and intuitive, clairscient ministerial practitioners open pathways for both evidentiary and experiential spiritual blessings. These install knowing, meaning, reconciliation, healing, and life guidance. These profound moments become unforgettable life encounters that spiritually awaken, prompt transformation, and an ongoing yearning for the spirit. New expressions opens new vistas of the spirit's manifestations that provide an array of transformational spiritual realities. New expressions through contemplative discernment encompasses all facets of life. Our mission prayer of discernment daily invites us into new expressions living. As we hunger and thirst for the Spirit, living out new expressions, the blessings of God are manifest to us in joy.